welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are jumping into a series, guys. We are jumping into the Fixed on You series, and it has 5 books in it. I kind of tried to warn you guys about this last week, but they're good. They are good books. Now, I've read the first 3 books, but the last 2, I haven't read those yet, so that'll be fun to read those and then review those with you guys. So today we are going to go ahead and jump right into our first book, which is Fixed on You. And so it starts off with one of our main characters, who is Elena Withers, and she's a bartender at the Sky Lunch Club in New York City. And so she has just received her MBA from Stern College, NYU, and she has a boss. His name's David, and he flirts with her and things like that. And he's actually like, let's all take a shot, congratulate Lainey, because that's what they call her. That's what she likes to be called. I prefer Elena, but so I'll go between Elena and Lainey. He's like, let's give a shot, for her, graduating. So they all took a shot. So then there's a man in an expensive suit that catches her eye. He's at the end of the bar, and she just automatically knows this is a problem. And she can feel that, like, this is someone that she would get attached to. So Elena has attachment issues, and we'll go further and deeper into that as we go along. So he orders a drink, I think it was a scotch, and she gives it to him, and their hands kind of touch, and of course she felt this whole, electricity and stuff. And so he gives her $100 bill, tells her to keep the change. He says it's a graduation gift. And she's kind of like, well, how did you know I graduated? He was like, oh, I heard, you guys, celebrating. And she was like, oh, okay. So then another guy on the other end of the bar, she went down to serve them, and the guy tries to hit on her. He always does. And she, of course, tells him no. He still gave her a number, and she threw it away. And so the mystery guy was like, do you do that with everyone's number? And she's like, mostly, yeah. She's like, I would throw yours away too. And he's like, well, why would you do that? And she's like, because I get attached, and you look like you're just looking for something temporary. And she's like, doesn't that scare a man like you? And he goes, Elena Withers, you don't scare me. So now she's like, wait a minute. How do you even know my name? Because she never said her name, her whole name. They called her Lainey, like they never said Elena. So Elena is best friends with her coworker, and it's her name's Liesel. And so it's been about 2 weeks since meeting the guy in the suit. So she went on a spa kind of retreat thing that weekend. She thought it came from her brother, because his name's Brian. She thought it came from him because he had missed her graduation, and she was hurt by that because she was like, that was a big deal and you missed it. So she's thinking it came from him. I was too at first. So she has a great, time at the spa for the first week, but then, after that, she really doesn't have too much going on. So she kind of starts obsessing a little bit, just kind of about details about things that maybe she can do at the club. Like, she tries to do a healthier obsession than what she normally does. So she goes back to the club, and Liesel's telling her, the new owner's here. He's like mega hot, and she's like, oh, really? And so then, boom, she's like, yeah, that's him over there. It's the guy in the suit, and his name is Hudson Pierce. And so she has on a corset that's super tight. It accentuates her her tits and everything. And Hudson tells her, if you want to be taken more seriously, you might want to dress more accordingly. And she kind of was like, excuse me? And he was like, she's like, this is appropriate for like the club scene. And he's like, but not for someone who wants to move up in business. And so then he tells her, I'll be back tomorrow night to speak with you as well as David. And so she's like, okay, whatever. But she's kind of blown away right now, of course, by his statement and then the fact that he's the suit. So David and Elena, they close up the club. They start flirting. So they like make out and stuff like that. They haven't like had sex yet, but they make out and stuff. So she stays late night and, helps with inventory and things like that. Because she's like super good at her job. And they start making out and he stops her. And he's like, I don't think we should be doing this. Like, what if the new owner finds out? And she was like, okay. She was disappointed. She had started to kind of think of them potentially being able to be together. So she had thought about them like running the club together and things like that. But he was a safe bet. It wasn't really because she was just so goo goo gaga over him. It was just he was safe and she needs safe. So she was a little bit more disappointed than she had anticipated. But she did accept it. It wasn't like she started flipping out and was like, why would you do this? Like she accepted it. So the next day she goes to the club for the meeting. Of course, this time she's dressed a lot classier. Yet it still gives that sex appeal of a club, but it's a lot different. And so David and Hudson are already wrapping up the meeting, and she came early. So she was just kind of like, wait a minute, like, what's going on? And so Hudson was like, he wanted to meet with Elena alone. So he took her to one of the little, they have like these, I guess, suspended things in the air where you can eat in them. I don't know how to describe them, but they're like high up, So he's like, let's go there. And so they go. He orders something to eat, asks her if she can, but she's super nervous, so she can't eat. So he asks her, she's like freaking out. She's like, okay, like, why am I here? And he's like, I kind of need to hire you. She's like, what are you talking about? I already work for you. And he's like, you don't work for me. He's like, you work at a club that I own. She's like, same difference. And he's like, no, I need you to help me in an engagement. And she's like, okay, well, whose engagement? And he goes, mine. I'm like, oh, Lord. So Hudson isn't really engaged. What is going on is he's been friends with a woman named Celia for like a long time. Their families have been friends since they were kids. And basically, like, her family wants her with him. So Hudson, of course, comes for money. And, like, on top of what's already been done, he's made it even more successful. So they want them to be together, as well as his mother, because she feels they would be a good match. So basically what's happening is Celia's parents will more than likely cut her off if she doesn't marry this man. So they've come up with a plan that, okay, if we show that, like, you're in love with another woman, like, they're not going to push me to still be with you after that. And so that's why he agrees to try and concoct this plan. Hudson also lets her know, though, that, we will be having sex. And he doesn't want, the offer to confuse anything. Like, he offered to pay off her student loans because she has like $80,000, like a little over $80,000 worth of debt with student loans. And so, she's like, well, I'm not a whore. You know what I mean? So he's like, no, like, these are like two exclusively different things. He's like, I want to sleep with you because I want to sleep with you. It's not because of this. He's like, so basically, like, we'll have this pretend relationship, but I want to fuck, basically. So, of course, it's like all this, attraction with them. And so they share like this incredibly passionate kiss. And she's just like, I got to think about this. Like, they literally almost had sex. Like, it was pretty intense. So the next day, her brother Brian comes to visit. And they go to the Waldorf. I think they went to the Waldorf. I can't talk today. They went there for lunch. And basically, he sits her down and he tells her, listen, I'm not going to pay for your apartment anymore. You need to get a real job. And so he's newly married, and he lets her know that they have a baby on the way, and he just can't keep taking care of her anymore. So she kind of yells at him. She gets upset because she feels like, he's trying to abandon her. She's like, geez, I just graduated. Like, give me a minute, But he wants her to have a corporate job. He doesn't want her working at the nightclub. So I think this is also a way for him to try and push her into where he wants her to be. Now, there's also the thing of their parents are deceased. They died in a car accident. So it's been David basically being the parent to her all these years. And she's had like a lot of stuff that she's gone through. And that's been a lot on him. So he's like, at the same time, like, sick of it. He's like, I'm not your parent. I'm your brother. And so, but she gets upset. And she's like, I haven't had an episode in like 4 years. And she does realize that it's a lot that he's had to go through with her. But then he made the comment to her, you violated a restraining order. She's like, that was 4 years ago. Like, how are you going to keep holding on to that against me? So I'm sitting going, oh, this girl got a pass. Like, this is going to be crazy. So he tells her, so now in her brain, she's like, you know what? I'm just going to take Hudson's offer because it'll alleviate the debt. I can still work at the club where I want to, and I don't have to depend on Brian anymore. So she's like, you know what? Fine. So she calls him and she tells him, she's going to accept his offer, and he tells her to come to the office so they can kind of iron out the details. So he tells her, while we're in public, he's like, I need you to be lovey, giving me kisses, touchy-feely. And he also tells her that, when you're not around me, I need you to act as if you're mine. And so, of course, that gets her excited because she likes hearing him saying mine, So he also tells her that he's going to have a driver. His name is Jordan. Jordan's gay. And he's a very attractive man. So, of course, Elena notices it, and he's like, and don't even think about it, because he's gay. So you can't have that. So she agrees, and, he tells her, I'm going to say a lot of things and do a lot of things to make you believe that I love you. He was like, but don't believe it because I am incapable of love. He's like, and I really need you to understand that. And so she's like, that's fine. I understand. She did ask him, why do you think you're incapable of love? And he's like, I'm 29 years old and I've never felt an inkling for anyone. And so then, he asked her, do you, can you do this without love? Are you able to do that? And she's like, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I fall hard. She was like, but maybe taking love out of the equation is something that's going to be good for me. So even as she's saying it, the girl knows she's going to be in trouble because there's already this magnetic energy that she already feels with this man. So it's like, this is not going to work. But, You know, because she's had issues in the past with three